right, so this is the first lecture on energy resources coming from chapter 13. And so what we want to do is talk about energy, where it comes from, renewable, renewable, non-renewable energy sources, things like that. So what I'm going to talk about is hydrofracking, or actually it's just known usually, typically as fracking. It was something that came up during the presidential debates. I didn't really mention it much. But one of the things was they were pushing Biden on whether he would stop fracking or not. And that was a big part of both president and vice president debates. So I want to talk about what the process is. Okay, so what happens is oil's in the ground. We all know that. It's about how to get it out. And so some of the problems with that is we are or have taken out the easy stuff, the stuff that's liquid, stuff that's easy to get to. What has been the problem has been the harder stuff, the stuff that is in shale rock and kind of locked. And so that's where the problem has become. So they're using fracking, a lot of stuff here on this slide, but really what they're doing is using a high pressure slurry mix to try to break up the material to get it with the water then to become looser so we can extract it from the ground. Now, the problem with fracking is that when that slurry does come up and we pull the oil, it has a bunch of stuff in it. And that stuff can cause potential problems in being back in our drinking water. The other problem we have is we actually don't know what they're using. Most companies, there are chemicals involved that help break up the rock and get the oil to, or natural gas. It's not just oil. Actually, a lot of it they talk about is natural gas. But to get that separated out, they use chemicals to ease it. And we don't know what those chemicals are. And the companies use protection such as that's trade secrets, so we can't tell you. So there's very minimal oversight on what's actually being done. And I think that's the problem. I'm not sure that fracking can't be done effectively on a smaller scale in a safer way. But right now, the way it's working, it does not seem to be conducive to environmental safety. Okay, so where does the energy come from? This is a very simple question. Basically, it's renewable or non-renewable. And commercial energy comes from both. But I will tell you that our country is very heavily invested in non-renewable. So I do want you to be aware of which ones are non-renewable and renewable. That's pretty simple, I think. And then there's a Vogel principle, page 124, number 12. We want you to know man obtains energy from either renewable or non-renewable sources or supplies. I mean, that's pretty basic. We have those choices. And then the next one is net energy is the only energy that really counts. And what that basically means is there's all these different types of energy out there, but there's an investment on the front end. So it's really not about, oh, I've got this barrel of oil. Here's how much energy I have. It's again, that kind of almost similar to the full pricing, full market pricing that we talked about earlier. That it's important that we, take into account all of these things. So it's really net energy yield, total energy produced, and then the energy that you have to put in to get it. So you can see over here, some of the different things that we use, like for electricity, energy efficiency is high, hydropower is high, wind is high, coal is high, and then natural gas, which is, way is medium, geothermal is medium, and then you can see on the other end, very, very low. So you've got to take those into account on how we're using it, and maybe some of the more polluting types of uh, resources that we use, we might only want to use them for certain things uh, that has a high efficiency rate. If the net energy yield is zero or a negative number, that really can't compete in the marketplace. And unfortunately, we use subsidies to hide kind of the cost. And so we're going to stop the sharing recording.